I am California of the past.
I am California of the past.
I am
California of the past.
I've lived in East Oakland since 2nd grade, and 7 when we moved to the kind of Maxwell Park neighborhood near High Street. And I remember going to Allendale Elementary. I think one thing that was always interesting is I'd gone to kindergarten and 1st grade in San Francisco, and then when we moved over to Oakland, I actually knew all the things that they were teaching in 2nd grade. So I ended up skipping then 3rd grade and going from 2nd to 4th. So after Allendale, I went to McChesney. It was named then, it's now been renamed Brewer, and that's where I went to middle school, and I did very well. I was kind of, I was in the band and so forth. And then when I went on to high school, things got a little rockier for me. I was in a really big comprehensive high school. I went to Skyline. And I just didn't really have a connection with anybody once I had gone up there. Middle school was, elementary school was a community, middle school was a community, but somehow that transition to high school was really difficult for me. And I felt really kind of like detached and not really connected. And unfortunately, what ended up happening is I just started cutting class a lot. And I went from being basically a straight A student to getting C's and D's within the scope of like 6 months. I was missing lots of class. And at the end of that year, I actually ended up dropping out of school. And after a while, what I figured out is I really missed learning and I really missed education. And I had tried kind of striking out on my own, and I realized like working in a deli for $4 an hour is not what I want to do for the rest of my life. But because I didn't even have a, high school diploma, I really didn't have that many options. I realized I'm going nowhere in my life. I'm going to be in the exact same place in 20 years if I don't change something. So my mom took me back in, and then I started going back to community college because I was missing a lot of the skills. I hadn't been to high school, I didn't really know how to write an essay, I didn't know how to do research, and I think for me, at that point, I realized, wow, I was a high school dropout 2 years ago, I didn't know what I was doing with my life a couple years ago, I kind of lost hope, and look how education can give you another shot. So after another year or so, I transferred to UC Berkeley, and I ended up majoring in ethnic studies. And I really felt like through ethnic studies, I got a chance to really learn all the history that hadn't been taught to me. And I wonder if that's kind of a reason I got really disconnected, is because I felt like, wow, only the founding fathers made a difference. I remember this teacher trying to teach me about William Shakespeare, and I was like, I don't care about William Shakespeare. I don't really care about it. I'm not connected to it. And through ethnic studies, though, I started hearing all those stories. I mean, I took a class, Chicano's Law and Criminal Justice, Chicano films, African-American women's history, all these stories that don't get told. And I realized this is part of what I want to do with my life, is I want to make sure kids get the perspectives, they get a well-rounded education. Kids of color really know that they have a future in education. Eventually went to Columbia, and I got a master's and my credential there. And what it gave me an opportunity to do is see and be a part of some of the really innovative schools in New York City. Just as I finished my program, the small schools movement was really taking off in Oakland. And so I had the opportunity to come in and kind of be a part. I was thrown onto this really kind of rushed design team, and we opened here at our school at Acorn Woodland. And I know, even from them, people were like, oh, it's just so, ironic and beautiful that someone who dropped out of Oakland Public Schools is now back as, a school leader. And I really feel like the journey of Acorn Woodland shows me, we were really dysfunctional. We didn't do right by kids initially. And now we're actually getting to a point where we can say we are putting kids on the road to college, and we are putting kids out there into middle school who have the skills to be successful. And it feels like this incredible kind of circle, is being completed when I think about my own journey and how disenfranchised I got from education and the kind of hope and despair I felt as a high school dropout. and then the empowerment I felt as I got a really quality education. And so for me, it's a really like personal journey, and it's my professional, story as well. But to know the way that we're sending kids on, and you ask any one of our kids and they know about colleges, which one they want to go to, and they're really aware of their own academic skills as well, and kind of what's preparing and enabling them to actually make that a reality. So it gives me chills, it makes me cry, it makes me laugh, but it's just, I'm so privileged to be a part of this community and this journey.